If you're laid off by big tech or you're scared that you might be next, you do not need another soft or comforting speech right now. Instead, you need clarity. So that's why this video is not going to be about some random vlog about life after layoff. Instead, I'm going to share a few honest thoughts on what you can practically do next. So before you decide what to do next after getting laid off, I think the first thing you need to understand is what's actually driving these layoffs. So in my opinion, the fundamental reason is definitely AI. I know that a lot of people online keep saying that these layoffs are not driven by AI. Instead, they're because of other reasons like overhiring, bad planning, or org reshuffles. And the companies are just using the AI as an excuse to clean up the mess and cover up the messy reasons, basically. I don't really think so. The fundamental driver of those past layoffs was AI, and AI will be the driver for more future layoffs coming up. Because you have to understand that AI is not just changing how people work, it's changing how much labor a company needs in the first place, and that is the key difference in this case. So let me give you an example of what I've seen firsthand. In a corporation, one of the biggest constraints used to be the engineering hours, right? And that was always one of the most expensive and limited resources. Projects got delayed, deprioritized, or never even get started, mostly because there were not enough engineering hours to go around. And for any product or project, the development cycle used to be super long because of that. You scope it, you align it with the stakeholders, then you hand it to the engineering team and wait for the engineering bandwidth. And then comes the MVP, and then P0, P1, and then everything just takes forever. But now the whole timeline is getting so compressed. Right now, a single product manager who knows how to vibe code can put together MVP in just hours, right? And not even weeks, hours. And that changes everything. Because once the cost of development and execution collapses, a company no longer needs the same number of people to get the same amount of output. And if one people can really do what used to require multiple functions, multiple handoffs, and much bigger team, what do you think a corporation is going to do? They're going to restructure around that reality. And there's another signal that people often are ignoring, which is, look at how many people are now being asked to document their workflows and write, skill files for the AI. So one more skill.md that you write is one more reason that you are no longer needed at the company. And that should tell you exactly what's going on here. The companies are not using AI just as a helper. They're actively converting human know-how into systems. And once that system is good enough, a company does not really need the same work shape anymore. So that's why I still firmly believe that AI is the fundamental driver behind all these layoffs. Not like many other people are saying that it's just being used as an excuse to cover up the bad work planning. So now that we understand that fundamentally speaking, the layoffs were driven by AI, and then we can talk about what actions we can take that actually fit that reality. So first, if you still want to stay with the corporate role, then here would be my suggestion. You need to really turn yourself into a much more integrated talent. Someone who can go all the way from product ideation to execution. And that is very important. The old model was very separated, right? So you have one group come up with the idea, another group writes the requirement, another group executes it by building it. The entire project or product was sliced up into multiple narrow functions, and AI is starting to break that model. One strong person with the right judgment and the right AI workflow can really do way more across the stack than before. So if you're planning to, work for a corporation, your goal should not to stay in your own lane. Your goal should really become, dangerous across multiple lanes. So if you're an engineer, that means that you need to develop product sense, product mindset, not just the ability to code. Because coding alone is becoming more commoditized because of AI, right? So if your only value is that I can write code, then that value, that moat will keep getting squeezed. So what makes engineers stand out nowadays is being able to understand what actually should be built in the first place. Can you identify a real user problem? Can you make smart trade-offs between speed, quality, and business impact without input from a product manager? Can you look at something and instantly tell that whether it's actually useful or it's just technically fancy but actually pointless? And yes, engineers still have an edge over people with zero coding background, even with AI. And that is absolutely true, because AI can help you write code faster, but it still does not replace the technical foundation, right? So engineers still understand the system logic better, and they know how to structure things better and how to make something that actually holds when it goes to production. Vibe coder, on the other hand, with no coding experience, only sees the output in front of them at surface level and has no idea of what's happening underneath. But a real engineer really understands the details of what's going on behind the scenes and can tell whether or not the product has a solid foundation, whether it was actually holding up or it was truly ready to ship. And that matters a lot. So for engineers, the move is not to panic. The move is to add product sense really on top of your technical base. Now, if you're a product manager or any managerial role or on the business side, your move is on the opposite direction. You need to invest very heavily in learning how to use AI and turn your product sense or business sense into the actual output. Not just slides or business strategy docs or ideas. Actual output matters now, because before, a lot of business and managerial roles could stop at thinking, planning, or aligning or handing off things. But AI is really, like I said, shrinking up the gap. So if you understand the customer, understand the opportunity, and understand the business case, then the question becomes, can you use AI to actually implement? Can you turn your thinking into prototype? Can you pressure test your idea yourself? And can you create something that's tangible before presenting to the leadership? And this is why I also think that the line between a pure engineering and a pure managerial role is going to keep blurring. And I think that we're going to see a lot more new roles in the middle. People who have product sense, business sense, and enough AI capability to actually implement, test, and iterate. But even then, and I think this is really the uncomfortable part, that I think the average person still has a very high chance of getting laid off in the next 3 or 5 years. Because AI is not improving linearly, right? You have to understand that. It's improving exponentially. And that honestly scares me. I can come up with plenty of ways for you to become more capable, more versatile. But at the end of the day, if AI is improving exponentially faster than you, your functional output, then as long as you are still selling the functional labor to a company, you're not going to keep up. So getting laid off is just a matter of time. And that is exactly why I'm going to share with you this second piece of advice. And that is to start building your personal IP now. I've been asking myself this question multiple times. Who is, the least likely to be replaced by AI? And the answer I keep coming back to, as cringe as it might sound, it's probably celebrities, influencers, and people like that. So what I'm trying to say is that look at what they actually have in common. They all have strong personality, a very clear point of view, and unique taste, and also people know what they stand for. In other words, they all have strong personal IP. And I genuinely think that is becoming the strongest and the most irreplaceable modes that you can have in the AI era. Because in this AI era, information itself becomes really cheap. AI makes ridiculously easy to get information, summarize information, generate information, and package information. So people are going to be flooded with content, flooded with answers, flooded with noise. And when everything becomes available, the important question is no longer, can I get information? The real question is, who do I actually trust? And that is why trust and credibility is becoming everything. And trust and credibility are going to be the ultimate currency in this AI era. So if that's true, then people need to stop hiding all their values inside a company badge. You need to start asking yourself what I'm actually good at, what do I understand better than most other people, and what perspective do I have that other people genuinely care about. Pick an area where you do actually have real experience, real insight and real obsession. And it should be something that you can really talk about in substance. And I think a lot of people are really missing this. They think personal IP just means making YouTube videos or trying to become internet famous. It's much bigger than that. Maybe it's making videos, maybe it's writing online, right? Maybe it's building a product in public, and maybe it's being known for something that you are truly excellent at in your local community. And maybe it's simply putting your thinking out there consistently enough that people start to recognize you for what you bring to the table. And that is how credibility starts to form. And people really need to get out of the mindset that you always need to work for someone. Maybe you still work for a corporation for now, which is fine. But because in this AI era, relying on one corporation is so fragile because the corporation does not belong to you. Right? The world does not belong to you, and the system does not belong to you. So you really need to, at the same time, building something that truly belongs to you. start building a name that has value outside of your job title and creating trust that stays with you no matter where you work, because that to me is the real long-term protection. And here's a bonus tip. Hold on to those magnificent tech stocks, right? And then the theory is that if you can't fight them, please join them. Hold on to your tech stocks that you'll have high conviction with, and really understand the difference between trading and investing. Do not trade on those tech stocks. Do not trade them. Okay, and you will most likely thank yourself in 20 years. All right, that's it for this video. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button.